Are you teaching the kids? Oh, well, mine are asleep.
And I think I asked, good morning. Nice talking to you. Zoe 7.
7.
I am thinking, having totally committed to starting up a summer class for young people. So I probably need to start with 10-year-olds. But if I go beyond that, if I go younger than that, would she be willing? Would you be okay with that? Simple. Oh, I got it. I got the radio. You definitely caught me off guard. It's all right.
Maybe I'll take the side shoe.
No, you're the only male. You can be in the middle.
Got to be in the middle.
Where is Isaiah? Didn't he help her?
Yeah.
'Cause we don't do a youth, to my knowledge, a teen class yet. Teen Sunday school. I guess I can't take this. So I was telling, before I left, I was telling Don, she did a beautiful job yesterday. I said, and Soleil doesn't know that she's blessed from that, or loved, and that's true, from that she went way out. We stuck you in the middle.
Thanks.
I told him to get in the middle.
Oh,
Because,
wow. I'll just take this and put it right
yeah, I
here.
can do that one.
All right. Well, praise the Lord, everybody.
Hallelujah.
Praise the Lord, everybody.
Hallelujah.
All right. We want you to pray for us. We got a cameraman trainee,
Amen.
and I'm sure he's doing the best he can. All right. Okay. All right. Well,
Mike,
Make it a little wider.
amen. Okay. You know, he said the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. So we're commandeering. Whoa. We're commandeering laborers. That's too
Bring it
wide.
back in.
Yeah, bring it back. There you go.
And
Look
hold
at
on,
him.
hold on.
All right, we're getting there. Okay, just a little
Remember,
bit
it's a little delayed, so he might be right
in.
already.
Okay, you're probably good.
So hold on, it's a little delayed.
All right, all right. We thank the Lord for your presence today. I think we're going to be talking about something that's very timely, maybe could be somewhat touchy. If I don't know whether you have been keeping up with the news report or not, but you see that there's killing going on,
Mm-hmm.
and some of this killing is being done by young people.
Yes.
I can recall when I was a teenager to hear of a young person going in a store, going in a school, or going anywhere, holding it up. I mean, that was unheard of. But then to hear of a young person going into a school and shooting other young people, that we didn't hear about, at least I didn't. Now, this is Sister Pam Thompson, and we're kind of in the same generation, same group. Okay. I don't know if it's good or bad, Sister Pam. Okay, that's a good thing. All right. And this is Sister Erica, and she's almost, not quite,
Same generation, but.
same generation,
Different
different grouping.
Yeah.
Okay, if we're the top,
Yeah, I was
if
gonna
we're the
say,
top, then she's the bottom of that group, okay? But she does help bring us some perspective, because there are some differences, even when you get people that are 10 years older or younger, you can see some differences in the way that they were brought up, and some of the things that happen in the church, and some of the, in some areas that we've gotten maybe laxed.
Very relaxed.
And sometimes we thought it was a good thing while we were doing the relaxing. But I want to start out by, we had a morning speaker this morning, and I was kind of laughing with one of our elders when they were making a statement about, you know, how you tell your kids to wash the dishes, and you might come back the next day and you have to tell them again. Well, see, now that was foreign to me. Because in the house that I came up in, you would, I mean, it wasn't a request. They weren't requesting you. They were telling you. And we don't have our Bible, so everybody got electronic stuff nowadays. Okay. All right. But anyway, it wasn't a request. They told you, and they had an expectation that when they told you, it was going to be done. Now, I'm gonna share this story with you guys, and because those folk, they meant what they said back then. Okay, now my mom and dad are still alive, and let me tell you how our house operated. Number one, you getting asked twice? Unheard of, unthinkable. Let me give you an example. My father, he told us that he wanted the yard rake, front yard rake, and he said, I want it raked by the time when I get home, I want y'all to have it done. Well, we found out that he was working overtime, and you know, me being the brilliant one in the family, I said, by the time Daddy get home, it's gonna be dark. He's not gonna be able to see the yard, and this was a Friday. You know, he's gonna be tired. And so we'll get up early Saturday before he gets up, and we'll have to get the yard raked up and whatever. What's he gonna say, right? That was my thinking, okay? So anyway, my father comes home, and it's dark.
The brains.
Yeah, the brains, okay. My father comes home, and it's dark, and we in bed. You know, it's dark, ain't nobody looking outside, and so the lights come on, the covers come off, and my father says, gentlemen, get up. And we get up out, and he says, get the flashlight, get the rake, and get the bags, and get out there and start working. And we're out there at midnight, raking leaves. Who does that? At midnight. Do you know people looking out windows? I guess the smart ones do, right? People are looking out windows, checking us out, because we outside with flashlights and trash cans, raking up stuff. But the point was, when they said do it, they meant do it, and if you didn't, there were going to be repercussions. And they didn't care. I mean, they would embarrass you. Yeah, if they told you to come and you didn't come, oh man. So, but I hear people talk now, and I hear them say they've asked their kids 2 and 3 times, and it's just like, I don't get it.
I think then too, having a responsibility, because it's 6 of us. At one time, I was the youngest. My youngest sister is 9 years younger than I am.
Okay, that's me and my brother.
So I had 4 older sisters. So they had normal chores, washing the dishes, doing this. But because, in my opinion, now that I'm older, I think that parents then gave you responsibilities. My responsibility was to iron my father's handkerchiefs that went into his pocket.
Okay.
Now, what is that? I mean, iron his handkerchief?
Now I got a question. If you missed that, I got handkerchiefs. I'm just saying. Okay.
I mean, but the things that I was asked to do or my responsibilities were so minimal that it didn't really care. But as I got older, I realized it was the fact of giving me something, a task that I had to do that was on me, and he needed to make sure it got done.
Okay.
You know, but back then I'm like, he doesn't even wear a suit jacket. So where am I? You know, why am I putting this? Is me as a young child. That's what I'm thinking. But that was one of my responsibilities. You know, and like I said, it was the small things that even his boxer shorts.
Even the boxer shorts. Did you even, okay, because back then they ironed boxer
That was
shorts.
one of my, and again, as a kid, I'm like, nobody's even gonna see it. I'm ironing, you know, and thinking that in my head. But like I said, as I got older, it was a responsibility that they gave to me, and that was a task for the age that I was responsible for and could handle. You know,
So-
it increased as I got older, but yeah.
Now, did you ever verbally ask, why am I
Oh,
doing
no,
this?
no.
No, you didn't?
No.
Okay, now, now, Sister Erica is a little bit younger than we are, and she is the youngest of three. Now, I do know that things are different for the youngest child than they are for the oldest child. So I want to know, what was your experience? Now, I want you to remember that I do know your grandmother.
To be honest, I didn't have set chores.
You,
So I was not only the youngest, but I was the only girl.
oh my.
Yeah. So, I mean,
What you trying to say? You spoiled?
I was very spoiled.
Okay.
And I
My
saw
mother-
that. I saw that in my younger sister. My thing was, why she don't have to do that?
Yeah.
When I had to do when I was her age.
Yeah.
That type thing. So
My mother would tell me to wash dishes. My father would wash them for me.
I can see that.
Let's see. I did keep my room clean. I did keep my own room clean. I like to vacuum because I like seeing the lines in the carpet. So I would do that on my own. I wouldn't have to be asked. But
Okay.
I didn't actually have chores.
So even in families, we can see some differences that are made. I have a younger brother, and I have one right up under me, and he and I would always have conversations like, now we had to do how come he ain't?
Right.
You know, I mean, we had to cut the grass, okay? I can remember my younger brother paying somebody to cut the grass. Now, I'm talking about as a kid, paying somebody to cut the grass. Now, my father would never have allowed us to pay somebody to cut the grass. You know, we go in the house and, you know, the trash can ain't been empty. Like, who lives here now? You know, but sometimes I guess as time progresses, not just in society, but even in our homes, we can see a change. Okay, and so I think, you know, it happened in our houses first, but then we see it in the broader society. So what has to be done? What do you see that's different? And even though you're younger than us, you see a difference.
Oh, yes.
And you know, we're grandparents. You are too.
I am.
Okay. Yes, she is. So what differences are you seeing?
I think one of the main things is the unity of the family. Even though I just said I didn't have a lot of chores, I still did things in the house and helped out. Even when I became of age, I wasn't asked to pay rent. Any utility that came in, I paid it. You know, because I stayed at my home until I was married.
Okay.
So
So you did the right way.
I did it the right way.
Okay.
I only lived abroad when I went to college. Other than that, I stayed home. But nowadays, a lot of the kids are raising themselves, or TV's raising them, the video games are raising them. I don't see the interaction with the parents and the kids. We used to play board games. I mean, we love board games and things like that. We had Atari as well, and I ended up with a Nintendo. But even like cousins and other families, we would get together and we would play games and, just gonna be honest, cards. And I mean, we had a good time as far as family, the unit together. And I think a lot of the parents nowadays is like, I gotta do me, and that's what they're saying. I have to do me.
Wow.
And even though these children are here, you've created them and brought them here, they're doing them.
Wow. Okay, now, Sister Pam, you're a grandmother too.
Mhm.
Okay, I told on you.
Mhm.
Okay. So, I mean, what are you seeing?
I'm seeing definitely a difference. I do think, and this is just my opinion, that we probably are part of the problem because, like I said, I'm ironing my father's handkerchiefs and boxers, so I was like, my child is not gonna be having those type of chores.
Okay.
So we didn't carry that forward. We kinda got a little lax, in my opinion, on some of the things that we wanted our kids to do. We wasn't, respect was one, and that still is a number one for me, even with whoever kid it is. But handing them all of the silly chores, but like I said, as I got older, understood why I got those chores. It was responsibility.
Okay.
It was showing me work ethics and things like that. But, you know, as a kid, you don't see all of that. I think that we as parents probably didn't pass some of those things down,
Mhm.
generation after generation. So there was where it got laxed. Because to me, today's generation lacks respect. I think that as growing up in the hood, even when we walked to the candy store, you know, we walked in gangs, and we may have been cussing or whatever, but if you saw somebody that you walked past, an elderly adult, you know, until you got past them, we was angels, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas today, I don't
They don't
see that respect, and so I just think passing down
Mhm.
some of the traditions that we got,
Yeah.
because we as parents said, well, you know, they don't even do that. That's silly.
Yeah.
Not really understanding the effect, the long-term effect that it had. So that's kind of where I'm thinking we kind of messed up a little bit.
Okay, so now we've taken some ownership. The problem, part of the problem may not rest just with the young people,
Right,
but the problem may rest with us.
right.
And some of the solution, I think, is gonna have to be with us. We cannot re-raise our children, they're grown.
Correct. Correct.
But we can affect our children's children if we choose to get involved.
True.
And so I think one of the problems now is that many folk in our, shall I say, age, don't get involved with the young people like we should.
Okay.
At least I don't think we do. Because again, we can help enforce some of the things that we didn't enforce on our children. We see the errors of our ways. We see the mistakes that we have made.
Right.
And so maybe we can go back and try to help correct some of those things in our grandchildren. Yes, ma'am.
It's like you say, maybe, because you have daughter-in-laws that don't like their mother-in-law.
Uh-oh, wait a minute. You say you got daughter-in-laws that don't like their mother-in-laws?
Yeah, they don't like your mother-in-laws, so they don't want mother-in-laws saying anything to their children.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, because they don't like the way you do things, for whatever reasons. So you, the count, don't get the opportunity to say to your grandchildren, you know, don't do that,
Yeah,
and unless you want to fight.
the mother, okay.
Yeah, so you create a distance right there because you're not included in that part of the family.
Yeah,
Because I think when a man gets a woman that don't like his mother, he ought to turn and go around the corner. He have no business getting into a family and the woman already don't like his mother. And vice versa, because there's always gonna be a rift right there, for some reason. And the person that have this dislike is never gonna say anything good about grandma. you know, so on. So it's always gonna be that. Sometime, mama have to die and get out of the way in order for the grandmother to, you know,
Yeah.
even be, isn't that awful to say?
Yeah,
That's awful to say, isn't it?
Reality.
But it's true.
yeah,
And I have grandchildren right here in this city I've never seen. One of the mothers says her children is too pretty.
my,
She don't want them to go to public schools and stuff like that because they too pretty.
yeah, yeah.
You know, so these women, and I just want to choke a man that just get himself caught up with some woman that's not settled or something, whatever's going on.
Yeah, yeah,
And, but they have a tendency to do it because they think they're prettier, they got long hair, or whatever reason they like these people.
mm-hmm,
But I think when you just like one part of the family, you're eventually gonna come into other parts of the family with that same old stuff, you know, some kind of way. So I try to tell my girls and my sons coming up, when you start a relationship with people, there's some questions you need to ask.
oh, wow,
Yeah, and one of them is, do you have people in your family that's insane? You know, and mentally ill? I'm serious.
no, she's telling the truth,
I'm serious,
Yeah.
I'm serious. You need to ask these questions,
yeah,
because you don't want to start having babies with a gene
Right.
that's
Yeah.
already working against them.
I've got a friend that was working on a book about questions that you should ask before marriage. And you're right, a lot of times we don't ask enough questions because sometimes our philosophy as far as raising children are so different that it can't work.
Right.
I mean, we can get along, but when it comes to raising some kids,
Right.
it ain't gonna work.
So, is there incest in the family? How much incest have you recognized in the family? You know, how many of them had babies out of wedlock?
Yeah,
You know, different stuff like this. And did your mother and father get a divorce? You know, how many children were there?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you know, there's just a bunch
There's
of questions
yeah, yeah,
that the girl needs to be trying to find out.
yeah.
But, and the parents need to be trying to find out about this
Maybe
little boy.
maybe we need to have somebody on that's talking about some of the questions that need to be asked
Yeah,
before people say
yeah.
I do, because again, that has a bearing on those children. How you gonna raise those kids
Well,
and things of that nature.
Pastor, I think it should happen before you think about saying I do.
Well, yeah,
Because if you've dated 2-3 years,
Right.
you know, you feel like, oh, I put all this into it, I'm ready to say I do. It needs to happen before you start courting, right? I mean, your feelings grow and everything, and you're ready to say I do, and then you start finding this stuff out, and it's kind of
Yeah,
like,
you
well,
get into
I've already, you know,
You
I
get
don't
into
know.
a habit where you get used to stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And that you shouldn't be getting used to.
I-
You know, but there's a lot of questions that girls need to be asking and parents need to be asking and things like that before you get married and start having babies,
Yeah.
you know, things like that. Another thing, you need to start talking to the boys more about their seed and how they don't need to be leaving their seed in puddles, you know, muddy water, you know, stuff like that. And when they think more of themselves, they think more of the woman, of the person next to them. But when they don't know themselves, you know, things are never going to get better about what's going on. And we don't see it like that. So family reunions sometimes is the only time families get together. And by that time, you don't know whose child this is,
Do they still have those?
whose child that is, and whose child this is.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know. And so you're going like, who's your mama? You know, things like that. And then when they tell you, you say, oh, you know.
Well, we know her. Okay.
And some people have nerve enough to talk about what they think they know.
Yeah.
See, so there's a lot of stuff, and I didn't allow my children to associate with certain children in the family on my husband's side because I understood what their mother was teaching them.
Okay, so now you bringing up another
Yeah.
aspect. back, I don't wanna say back in my day, because you know my grandson actually said, and he told me and my daughter, y'all were born in the 1900s? That makes it sound like we old. We were born in the 1900s.
Well, we just got mature.
Yeah, that's all. But back then, our parents did know who we were associating
Yeah.
with, and there were certain folks that they did not let you
Yeah.
associate
That's
with.
right.
But nowadays, your kids don't have to leave the house to associate with nobody.
You're right.
We had I think there was there was only 2 telephones in the house. There was the one in the kitchen, and there was the one that was kind of in between the front room and the dining room. And if you was gonna call somebody, adult was sitting right there. And so, and you wasn't gonna stay on there long, because we didn't have call waiting back in. And you better not tie up that telephone. So you was gonna say hello, goodbye, and that was it. And so and they knew who you was talking to, right?
She's laughing because we didn't have call waiting.
You had, okay.
Wait, do
She
y'all
was in that
remember-
other group.
Do y'all
Okay,
remember the party line? There was the party line.
Now, I don't remember the party line. That's another group. Okay, you in the group, okay, you in the next group. Y'all had the party line. The group before us, they had but we didn't have a party line. We didn't even have call waiting. Did you have call waiting? So you better get off that phone, because the phone was busy. We couldn't even get on it. So your parents didn't let you, and so the people that you talked to were the people in your house, the people who your parents allowed in your house, and maybe some families that they knew the parents, you would go to their house, but that was it. But nowadays, your children have access to people that you have never met, and they're friends with people that they've never met. And so a lot of this, I think, weighs into what we're seeing and what we're dealing with today. Yes, sir.
One of the things that I do see is, like, in my situation, my dad and my mom, they demised when my sister and I, we were 5 and 6, which my mother, she moved back home with my grandfather and grandmother. So once, they broke up, my grandfather, he kind of took over, and kind of had me washing the porch, washing the wood floors with Murphy's oil soap, and washing the cars. This is little, cutting grass and all that. And then when my mother moved off on her own away from my grandmother and grandfather, my sister and I was the oldest. It turned out the same thing my grandfather had me doing, scrubbing the porch every Saturday morning, cutting the grass through the week, cleaning the floors, and doing all that. It continued on. Okay, so basically my mother, she kept check of me by keeping me in the house, doing little chores and stuff like that. And then when I did get to go outside, it wasn't no further than my house from that corner to that corner.
Yeah.
Yelling this.
Yes.
Yeah,
When
it's
my
all
mother
distance.
wanted me, she would come out on the porch and she would say, "John, Edward." And if I didn't hear it, one of the neighbors would hear it and say, "John, your mother is calling you." Okay, not to say that, today we're not doing it, but to say we're not doing that. We're not being accountable of teaching our children how to work. I've been working since I was 11. I carry Citizen Journal and Dispatch. Those are paper routes. 6:30 in the morning, I was delivering Citizen Journal. 6:30 in the evening, I was delivering Dispatch. In the summertime, I just didn't get to sit down like all the other kids. They had a program called Neighborhood Youth Corps.
Now, how old were you?
At that time, 12 years old.
Now, were you 12 years old carrying the paper?
11 years
No,
old.
so you had responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then at 12, I got hired at the athletic club and worked for the youth corps from 8 to 12 Okay, after my paper route,
Yeah.
then I would go work for the schools in the summertime from 8 to 12, Neighborhood Youth Corps, which was similar to a program called CETA.
Right.
Okay? And then once I got finished with there at 6 o'clock, I would go to the Athletic Club of Columbus by bus at 12, work from 6 to 12 midnight.
Now, wait a
And they,
minute, you said by bus,
yes, sir.
and you was 12 riding the bus?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, I do want to share this. There are some things that we will not allow our children to do because they're dangerous.
Right.
Or we say that they're dangerous. But there are other things that we allow our children to do that are even more dangerous. We just don't realize it. We will not allow them to ride the bus because we're afraid of what strangers will do. But we will allow them to navigate the internet
Yes.
and don't know who or what. And we're not checking behind to see what's going on, but the danger is even greater. See, on the bus, I can go to the bus stop and see who's been riding the bus.
Mm-hmm.
But on the internet, I can't find who you've been talking. I really can't. And if I find them, they could be somewhere, and they've had access to your mind. But we as parents, we have become either dead to that, or we are so unconnected or so uninformed.
Desensitized.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, for me, it's probably being unconnected, or I don't have the patience. My computer goes bad. I'll do a little bit of troubleshooting, and after that, I'll leave it alone.
Okay.
And I think that's probably where we are. If it's something that we don't totally understand, we just, and let it go. And that's where we're lacking as parents, not knowing what our kids or grandkids are actually watching.
So we're not growing with them in
We're not
technology.
going with them, right.
Okay, so we have to kind of grow with them. I mean, these are some of the problems that we're looking at. It's not all them, some of it is us. We're not keeping up.
And his brother, Elder John was talking about, he kept saying, and I worked. Now, today, would someone, teenager, get up at 6 in the morning to go to work?
Well, the question is, would some parents ask them to get up? Some people, I'm just kind of mesmerized that people have reached the age 18 and they had a job. I mean, I'm just showing you how things have changed.
Change.
By the time I was 18, man, I had done a lot. I had my own lawn service. You know, I was cutting grass as a kid, I was contracting out to other kids. I had so much grass being cut. And when the seasons changed, it was raking leaves, and when the seasons changed, it was shoveling snow. Then before they had these mobile units, we were washing cars. We were making money.
And I was babysitting.
And you were babysitting. We didn't have time for this mindless stuff that's going on today.
I have
That was my
to admit,
gas money.
I didn't work until I was 18.
You didn't work until you was 18?
My parents didn't want me to. They
See,
wanted me to
okay.
concentrate on school. I didn't.
Okay.
And the first,
But were you concentrating on school?
yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Well, these kids ain't concentrating on school. You look at their grades.
I know,
They ain't
but
concentrating on school. They can't even use that.
the first job I held was between the summer of my senior year and my freshman year in college. And I worked, I didn't work.
Oh, girl, you
And a
lived
matter
a
of
good
fact,
life.
my father raised my allowance every time I talked about getting a job.
Wow.
I just wanted to come to bat for Erica because I'm actually the only girl and I'm the youngest too.
Oh, my.
So between my older brother and I, there's like 11 years, and my middle brother, there's like 6 years in between us. So my mother, we were single parents, so she was at work. So a lot of times they had to fix dinner. My middle brother used to fix my hair before school. So, you know, I understand the whole being spoiled to a degree when you're younger. But fast forward, you know, in adulthood, all the responsibility fell on me as far as my mother and then even my siblings, where I feel like sometimes I'm their mother for, you know, taking care of them and dancing about them. So the roles can flip when you get older. Now, I do agree with Minister Murray when she was saying that, you know, sometimes men should not pick women that their mothers do not get along with. But on the flip side of that, I have girlfriends that marry mama's boys. And so that created a problem too, because when he took a wife, she's still trying to be his girlfriend and his, all of that at the same time. So I think sometimes that creates a friction with, and my thing is, you respect the mother-in-law if you have one, respect. I'm not saying that, but I think the mother-in-law has to stay in her lane when it comes to the children and that marriage. So I think you have to kind of look at that side too.
Or is it a thing that they have to work together?
Yeah.
Because-
But she can't be his wife. You see what I mean? She's his mother, but she
Right.
cannot be his wife.
Yeah, mama
And I
can't be
think
his wife.
sometimes mothers step in that role or want to step in there, because I dated a guy that he was a mama's boy. And so there was an event that he took me to, and she said, well, he really should have took me.
What?
And it's like, well, you're his mother, I'm his girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like, we have our own separate roles.
Yeah.
So I think you have to, when I say stay in your lane, I mean as far as that kind of thing. Yeah.
And you may run into a mother that says, she's not good enough for my son.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we, I didn't have any boys, but I do see, and I tease Pete because he's the mama's boy, and,
He could be
but-
watching now.
yeah, he could be, no, he's
Okay.
in Chicago. But, I think that sometimes moms can say, that's my son, I can do whatever, that's my son, and he's saying, okay, mom. Taking that role as opposed to, mom, okay, I've stepped out of this, mom, I'm over here now, this is where I
Right,
need
right.
to be. Because you can't say that to your mother, per se, or it's how you say it, let me rephrase
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it's how you say it. And if you are truly, my opinion, if you're truly your mama's boy, you're probably not gonna do that. Because you're not gonna hurt mama.
You're not gonna have to talk with
You're
mom.
not gonna have that talk with mama.
All right, Sister Street. Sister Hudson.
Okay, I'm the youngest girl, but me and my twin sister, we're the only girls, and we're right in the middle of boys. 2 boys ahead, 2 boys below us. Now, as far as working, it was discipline
Yeah.
to work. I've been working since I was 9, starting to babysitter. Me and my twin sister, we were like the top babysitters of the projects. We babysitted everybody's kids. And at 9, I was watching some kids. My granddaughter's about to turn 9, and there's no way
You ain't letting her watch that.
she
but
could watch.
cartoons.
She could watch cartoons. That's it. That's all she can watch. So it's just like discipline. Now things are different. The kids just aren't being raised the way we were.
The
with
maturity
discipline. Yeah,
level,
the
yeah.
maturity and everything like that. So I just wanted to say that I've
Yeah.
been working since I was 9, and like I said, we're the middle girls, but we had to do a lot of things because we were girls.
The girls.
Yeah.
So
Now
they
you're
do put a
saying
lot
that
on us.
the maturity level is, okay, we're saying the maturity level is not the same, but they're being exposed to more mature stuff earlier.
Yes.
Yes.
But their maturity level is not
It's
the
not the
same.
same.
So that is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, how they're
Yes.
processing it.
Yeah, and so that's,
At an early age, yeah.
that's what we're seeing. And then I think that one of the other things that we're seeing is, this might be jumping a little bit, we see men who are either not maturing or they're maturing a lot slower. They're
Yes.
not taking on the responsibilities of men. I mean, you can take they're 40-year-olds that you can sit them beside a 16-year-old in their practices, and you can't tell the difference.
Yes.
One just has a beard. Great.
Yeah, great, cause there's
That's-
some 16-year-olds.
That's some 16-year-olds got beards. I better fix that up.
Right.
Okay, all right, Brother Deacon.
Good morning. Also, I want to have Sister Eric back on this one. Growing up, my parents I didn't work when I was in high school either. And by my sophomore year, I figured it out. My mother didn't want me to work because she wanted me to go to school, get some extra credits. But my friends all had jobs. So my mother would, time to buy school clothes, well, how much Brian Chester taking out to Lafayette Square? First year I said, 300. She gave it to me. Sophomore year, I got smart. I said, oh, Mom, they got 5. I'd get up, do my little 4 hours, come home and go to sleep till they got off work, and then we'd hang out. But then I'd go to the mall and get the same things they got. But my father caught on to it, so junior year, he'd give me $10. You either wear some Chuck Taylors, or you cut grass or wash cars and get that other $30 to get them leather Nikes. But you know, that's what we had to, but like you say, the dynamics have changed. Kids think it's your obligation to put them in $200 Jordans, when your only obligation is to put shoes on their feet and food on the plate. But see, society has them thinking it's the other way around.
But Deacon, is it more because we care about how they feel? We become more feely?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think my dad cared about how I felt about it.
Mine didn't either.
I mean, now I don't know what side of town you lived on that you get some Chuck Taylors for $10.
Oh, nationwide, $9.99 on Washington Street. I remember that.
See,
I remember that.
see, I didn't. Evidently, I was out of the loop.
That
because-
floated around the neighborhood big time.
No, see,
Everybody knew
I
that.
didn't know, because I'm gonna tell you, I remember the prices. I remember stuff. Chuck Taylors were $15. NBAs, which were imitations, were
$12.99.
$12.99.
Tom McCann.
And, oh yeah, Tom McCann. So that's what we got, $12.99. And Daddy said, if you want them other ones, you got to come up with the
Yeah.
extra money.
But you
And-
know,
and I
that-
figured if he wasn't, I wasn't either.
But that's how it was, you know. And nowadays, like I said, they feel it's your obligation. They don't understand that you paying the mortgage, you paying the rent, you keep food in the refrigerator, you know. And nowadays, most people do have that cable, you know.
Okay, so how do we change this? I think this is one of the questions that we have to ask.
Family,
How do we change some of this? Or
you
can
said
we? Or is
how
it too
to
late?
change. I think family dynamics has had a lot, because for listening to us talk, we all have said, but my mother, but my father. My father was very strict, and he had all girls, so
Oh, man.
my older sisters got a little more of that strictness than I did.
They couldn't even breathe, could they?
They couldn't breathe. Poor things, couldn't breathe, couldn't come off the porch, you know, don't let a guy come down the street because he wasn't good enough to look at one of his daughters, so yeah, he was pretty strict.
Ooh.
So he was laying down the lines, whereas mom was kind of lax. So what we could get away with mom, we definitely couldn't get away with dad, and you're not seeing that. I see the difference in that between me and my youngest sister. You know,
Wow.
because by the time she got a little older, they were already divorced. So she didn't get that.
Right.
And I see that. I see that, and as I was growing up and starting to look at the dynamics, I could say, oh, well, you know, Daddy made us do da-da-da-da-da-da-da, which today I still may have a little bit of whatever it is he had us do, where she didn't get that. So it was like, mindset-wise, no big deal, where it's like, oh, yeah, that was a big deal, because we were made to do it. So I think the family dynamics have changed some of that as well, because you're not having as many two-parent households as you had before.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Let's get these two young ladies. We'll
Okay.
get your
You know,
first.
when I was young, I worked and we had to go to the field earlier because we didn't have babysitters. You know, if you're 4 or 5 years old, you was working, you was in the field. And we didn't get the money on the weekend because the money went toward the house. So if there was no such thing as an allowance until we got to a certain age where we could get what we made on Saturday, about $1.50. And but now our households don't make our working children share their money. See, they don't make them bring money home to mama, like a man's supposed to bring money home to his wife. You know, thinks you have to get that training somewhere. And so they allow them to keep their paycheck and do what they want with their paycheck. When they should start them out, when they start getting these summer jobs and things, have them to understand. Ladarius had a job last year, and I didn't have any say-so over it because of where he was. He have a job this year that I don't have a say-so over because of where he is. But I had the conversation with him. You better put your money away for your tuxedo. Because I'm not buying tuxedo and you got a job and wait doing whatever you wanna do with your money.
All right now.
So he have to understand
Uh-huh.
that he don't bring me no money home, but he gonna give me some money if it ain't but $10 here. But I'm just having him to understand, you're not gonna waste your money up and then look for somebody else to support what you have to have. So some of us is still trying to train our boys to be men.
Okay, okay.
Whether they become men or not, we're still trying to train them to be what they're supposed to be and accept the responsibility of what they're supposed to be. Also, he know that he have to open the door for an elder, especially a woman, when she is older.
Yes.
And, you know, open the door for her instead of standing there looking, waiting for her to open the door and then you go in back. Not gonna happen.
Those old school principles, that's not there anymore. Not all of them.
Right. My grandson is 5 and my husband has him to open the door for me. So 5. So some are still, but not all.
But not all.
All right.
Such a huge topic, y'all.
Isn't it?
Such a huge topic.
It's an
Well,
important topic.
I was kind of looking around before I opened my mouth. Yeah, I am the youngest in here today. So, yeah, I can say that. I'm the youngest in
Okay,
here.
you're the youngest in here.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Today I am. I say this much because, as some say, I have an old soul. I've been a granny since I was 5. I was brought up by old school values. My great-grandmother was 100 and something when she passed away, so it does take a village to raise a child. I'm on this topic a lot for the simple fact of the type of work I do. Me being working the social service field in the capacity I do, I pray for the opportunity for doors to always open so I can plant seed or water or whatever God has me there. No, it's not dead, because I have a client right now who 5-year-old, I just had him yesterday. I told him, I said, you are such a gentleman and thank you for doing that. He runs before you to make sure he opens the door. So you do have parents out here that's still doing it. And it is a situation where someone did drop the ball. I speak of my generation right now. I can speak of that because not just I seen it, but I'm not a person to just talk about it, I'm gonna be about it. So I walked through the waters with their children. Did they listen? We know how that goes, y'all. I always tell somebody, man, y'all parents can be something else, especially the mamas. That's my baby. That's my baby, that's my boy. Can't nobody tell y'all nothing. I be like, Jesus. But anyway, that's another topic. But I say that because when DeJuan Diamond, all of them was being raised up, I always used to not just ask them what was they gonna do when they graduated, I asked them what businesses they were gonna own. Parents used to get upset because I talked, when I gave a word that I knew they did not know. Why? Because when they stayed with me for the summer, school never stopped, period. It never did stop. And like I used to tell them, I used to say, I'm trying to figure out who's older here, because these are things that you need to install in your children. It is harder today because we do have a generation that feels entitled. I have dealt with those too. Even dealing with the bunch I dealt with, even the youngest ones out of 14, 16 of them, I lost count of them children. But even the youngest ones, even when I was bringing them to church before they got grown, because I'm only a portion of what I'm doing, I had to almost have a whole fight in the church because he's gonna ask me, why do I have to pay tithes? Now for me, I'm shocked, like, what you mean tithes? Didn't Granny teach? I had to stop. Granny didn't teach you, my granny taught me. It's better to give than receive. No, God don't need your money, but that wherever your heart is, that was taught to me as a kid. So here I am arguing with a 9-year-old, all of the strength of that. So where we have a bunch of problems and we can keep on going on and on and on, I want to just kind of talk about some of the solutions. Please stay prayerful, everyone. We need discernment. Whether it's nothing but a smile sometimes. Sometimes it's about the words we give to somebody. Hurt people. And even God out there, I was up the other day until 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to tell this woman, I said, look, I gotta go work in the morning. I thank God for the opportunity he done gave me, but I gotta get some sleep. But God opened up a window for her to talk about her childhood. Now this woman's about to be 46. Talk about how her grandmother mistreated her. And I knew it was a moment, so I was like, okay, we're gonna sit here and listen to this. Then I prayed for her.
But some of these people do need to get some stuff out, because some of the reasons why they are raising their children the way they are in their minds, I'm not gonna do what got done to me. So I was like, so in the process of that, what they don't realize, and the only reason I realize that, y'all, is because of God. It has nothing to do that I'm smart, intelligent, none of that. When God has a way of separating the evil from the good to help you magnify on what was given to you. I used to cry to my mother at 7. She laughed. "You treat me like a Hebrew slave." And she bust out laughing. She's like, "Girl, you don't even know what a Hebrew slave is." But she trained me for the world. She trained me not to be lazy. And she talked to me. Well, guess what? Some of these parents are not talking to their children. Some of them are really abusing them because of what they've been through, and they don't know how to process. So wherever we are at in the scope, please don't be judgmental. Ask God to give you discernment. Have him to help you see in a higher height, in a depth of depth, so you could be the part to help out instead of hindering them. So that's all I had to say.
So it sounds like we got some big issues. And it's not just the kids, but it's the, some of the parents and some of the things that they went through as children. So again, I guess one of the things that I'm seeing is the church can play a real relevant part if we're able to come. This is the place where we come and talk about these things and can get some of these things out and work on some of these things. But in our own little corners, we're never going to solve these problems.
One of the things I want to piggyback off of Minister Murray, when I got paid from all them work, paper routes, 2 paper routes, neighborhood youth corps, athletic club, on Friday, when I came home, I handed my mother the money because she expected that. Okay, I tried not to one time, and she looked at me and she says, "You ain't giving me the money?"
Probably asked you where you were gonna live, huh?
Pretty much, and I looked at her, and she looked at the door, and I said, "Here, Mama." But when I gave my mother the money, what she would do is she would give me my allowance from my money. Okay? I'm saying that to say my mother taught me how to be a man.
Amen.
This went on all the way up until I turned 17 and graduated from high school. Then I went to the military because back then, I don't know whether they do it today or not, they gave you Conrads, which whatever you put in, they put in. So I would put in $150 a month for my mother, and they would put $150 in, and they would send that money back home to my mother. And that went on all the way for 10 years through my military. And when I came home, my mother had some money put away for me.
All right, amen, amen. I want to piggyback off of what Monique said, and I said this, and we had a women's group, and we were all talking, and I was saying to the women's group that one of the things that I kind of enjoy, but also feel that it's necessary, is to deal with the youth. You know, someone made a comment, well, you know, you do things in your season. So it was a polite way of saying, I'm really getting too old to work with the youth because I don't relate to them per se. But it bothered me at first, but for me, it's important.
Yeah.
For me to I might be old lady, I might be, in their eyesight, I might be too harsh, but it's important to me to instill in them or say things to them that they'll brush off now, but later on in life, they'll say, oh, just like I said, I didn't understand ironing my father's handkerchiefs and his boxers back then. But as I got older, I was like, oh, well, that was my responsibility.
Yeah.
That was him teaching me responsibility. And at the age that I was doing that, for the household chores, that was one of the things that I could do. Like I said, I had older sisters. So for me, working with the youth, and that's what Monique was saying, let us work with the youth, talk to the youth as much as possible. They're not gonna get it maybe now. Some will, some won't. It deals with maturity level. But I think in time, when they look back, they, oh, that's what so-and-so was trying to show me, or that's what they meant doing this and doing that. And that's key to me.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so I might be the grandma working with the kids, but I've accepted my next level.
But, you know, but I just wanna say, I have to disagree with whoever said that, because it was those, they were grandmothers when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was those grandmothers that taught us, instilled in us, and when we got a little bit older, when we didn't wanna talk to our parents, we called them old ladies and talked to them, and they were able to share and to tell us some stuff. I mean, I remember their names, Mary Grundy, Bernice Garrett, these are older women, I remember their names. They were that-
Mother Davis for
Mother
me.
Davis.
Mother
We
Davis and
remember
Mother
those.
Campbell for
So we
me,
need,
yeah.
we have a shortage of mothers in the church to actually talk to, you know, cause, well, I guess the respect level was different, cause mama told you, you better not run down that aisle, boy.
Right.
You would stop.
Right.
You would they stop you dead in your tracks. So, yeah, we need older people to relate with these younger people.
Definitely.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on what Sister Glennis was saying earlier about the mama's boy. My wife had the tendency to call me a mama's boy.
No.
And it wasn't always like that, because when my mother and father first got married, we were like oil and water. But by the time I got to high school, when I got to high school, I noticed something, that every school year, me and my brothers got new coats. My mother wore the same coat all through my 4 years of high school. And she worked every day. She done everything for me and my brothers but birthed us. And I've never used the word step when I refer to my mother. That's my mother.
Yeah.
You know, and she raised us to always, when we got paid, I stayed there like about a year after I got out of high school. But I knew when I got paid on Friday, hey, boy, don't jump in the shower, don't go hang out with the fellas till you break mom off. You know, because with that came 3 square meals, and she still did the laundry.
Yeah.
So, you know, out of respect, but, you know, the 2-family home was a blessing. But see, with me, I still chose the streets. You know, I was one of the founders, as I can say before, I was one of the founding fathers of a gang on this side of town, 2G. I ain't proud of that. But when my daughter was born, I got out of that. I ain't looked back. But, you know, it's about how you raise, it's not about how you raise your kids, because in our day, it was a neighborhood. It was 4 or 5 houses on my block. The daddy could open the door and give me that father look, and Jerry shut it down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I didn't, if that father got me, if I was slow enough to run home and say, Daddy, I got another one. So, you know, nowadays it's not like that. You can't speak to somebody's kid anymore. Because nowadays you might get shot.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to temper what we say, but I think we could do better with the directions we show them. You know, like the phone thing. If they 9, 10 years old, ain't nothing wrong with you getting them a phone.
Yes,
But
it
they
is.
need to know its ramifications with that phone. You ain't cleaning up your bedroom. You're not bringing home good grades. You don't get the phone. And then you have to have hours. I think 4 to 6. Yeah, you can have your phone, but after 6 o'clock, you done.
Yeah.
That's, you know, that's pretty much it for me.
All right.
Mama.
Now Dick and Jerry is part of our group. Now Dick Dennis, he's part of another group.
I'm from that young group,
He's from the young group.
but not
Okay.
real young. So I think it was Sister Erica that alluded earlier to how the parents nowadays are more focused on doing them. And you also made mention about how your family, my family, back then, we really came together and played together, you know, board games and things like that. And so what I was thinking about is how we can't think it's strange while we sit here waiting on our Lord to return and looking for the Antichrist, that Scripture says that these kind of times are coming, that men will be lovers of themselves, and our society and even the technology in our society is geared towards us. It's all about us. The video games focus on what you do, what your score was, stuff like that. The social media platforms, all of that, is all about us. And so we're living in a dream state in a sense, because we post all these statuses that make us look so good.
Wow.
You know, we got filters where we change the way we look. We got these posts that we
Yes.
post that says life is great, and it's not. Life is real, it's hard, and it's happening. But so the very way that we're living right now, we've lost the value of the integrity of unity within the family. But it ain't nothing strange.
Nope.
Amen. Amen.
And I said that this morning in regards to, they were talking about the shootings and everything that's going on. I was like, we are to expect that. It says in the
It says
Bible,
it in
and
the
it's going to
Bible.
get
Yeah.
worse, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, like you said, it's not strange. It's unfortunate, but
It's the way it is.
yes, sir.
Did you have something you wanted to say, man?
I was about to say, he almost said it all. So I was like, let me just go sit down. I just piggyback off my brothers and sisters because I know we're at the end. The Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go, and once they get old, they will not depart. I just sat here as a witness today. I myself strayed. You know, I cannot say I was not brought up properly. I was brought up to be a lady, and we're gonna leave that alone. Yeah, I'm gonna be nice. I got out here, but what I will say about a foundation, and